6 a.m. became I'm a big Motley Crue head. So like 6 a.m. became like my second favorite band in the world, you know. And then learning that you actually had a key role in some of the later Motley Crue stuff, which just mind blowing. What happened to 6 a.m. and then and it, you know, why won't you guys do it anymore?
It's a good question. We kind of with 6 a.m. when 6 a.m. formed, uh, we never really had the intention of being a band.
Right.
We were three guys that were pals and loved creating together. And really, the first music that we created for 6 a.m. was so outside of the bounds of what was going on in music at the time, and we enjoyed that. That's kind it was kind of like a guilty pleasure. We loved the fact that we could, you know, just break the rules of
Mhm.
what was going on in music at the time. And we carried that through pretty much our entire career. Um, but, we reached a point where, and of course, there was a point where we admitted to ourselves that we were a band and that we had to go out and be a touring band and do all of that stuff that bands do. Um, but we always said to ourselves, hey, let's keep doing this as long as it's fun.
Okay.
And it's not that it ever stopped being fun, but we did reach a point where we all looked at each other and said, um, I think it's time for us to uh, put a period at the end of this sentence. I think it's time for us to for each of us to go on and do other things. Because at least for me, there was this, I don't want to call it a fear, but there was this concern that we were going to reach the point of diminishing returns, and I didn't want to have albums that I looked back on and with regret.
Mhm.
Uh, there were a couple of songs that we did towards the end that, to be quite honest with you, I'm not as excited about. I'm not ashamed of them, but I feel like had we kept going, there would have been a larger handful of those type of moments, of those type of songs.
Right.
And I think we just thought, listen, we never did 6 a.m. for the money. We never did it, to put money in our bank account. So why are we doing this if we are not feeling the same way that we used to feel about what we're doing? And so when we did prayers for the damned and prayers for the blessed,
Mhm.
I think all three of us knew at that time that it was likely that would be the end of our album making.
Are there any deep cuts on either of the records that you think were overlooked the first time that will probably get some sort of second life this time around?
Well, I don't know if they will get a second life. I mean, that just depends on, how things unfold.
Yeah.
But I really always felt like Barbarians, the song Barbarians,
Yeah.
n- needed to live a little bit bigger life than it ever did. I would have liked to have seen that song become a single. And there's a few songs on there that I'm really excited about, the just the hope and the possibility that people will maybe stumble upon them now and be like, oh, this is pretty special. So it's just giving that album one more chance at being discovered, by somebody who might be open and ready to discover it.
Right. Or at least add it to someone's playlist, right? Because I
Yeah.
went to a groomer one day and I hear "Life Is Beautiful." I'm like, nice. I'm like, you guys are listening to 6 a.m. And they're like, oh, I don't know who it is. It's just on our playlist. I'm like, you don't know who this is? I had to give them a
I
bit.
love that. I love that. I live in Northern Ireland now, and a buddy of mine the other day texted me and said, "Hey, they're playing Life is Beautiful on the radio." And back in the day, back when that song was a hit, of course, I was used to that,
Yeah,
but it was so gratifying and so exciting to get that text. Now, today, what, 10, 15 years
yeah,
later,
yeah.
um, so that means a lot to me.
That's great.
Those are the special moments now that I'm so grateful for, and they constantly come back and remind me just how lucky I was to be a part of this whole journey with 6 a.m.
Revisiting this record, it's these two records. Did it stir up any like ideas for new music and maybe a possible reunion with Nikki and DJ, or even do you even have contact with them still to this
I
day?
have contact with both of them. Yeah, we get along great. You know, every time I sit down and decide to put on one of our records just to kind of relive old memories, every time I do that, there is such an electricity about it. And I have to admit, a part of me kind of goes, what if, what if we just tried something else? What if we just tried something new? And I will bet you that both Nikki and DJ have those same moments. We don't have anything planned, and I'm okay with that because I feel like we wrapped things up very earnestly and very respectfully. But yeah, every once in a while when I go back and listen to things, I'm like, I know we could make some more cool stuff. I
Right.
know we could,
Yeah,
especially with where we all have grown as human beings, and so the idea of that, I mean, let's put it this way: I am very sincerely retired, and I'm enjoying that
yeah,
immensely.
right.
But 6 a.m. was a magical thing, and there's always going to be a part of me that thinks there's something cool right around the corner.
That's great. That's great. So, are you like dual citizenship now, U.S. and
I don't have my citizenship here yet. That comes in about 2 years.
oh,
I'm
great.
yeah, I'm on a visa, and then I have to do that visa again for another 2 years, and then I can apply for citizenship, and
Okay.
and I will be applying as soon as I can. I love it here so much. I've just
Like,
I've just never been happier.
right. Well, I mean, you said you grew up in London. That's amazing.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
pretty cool. But Ireland, it's what like a couple hours away.
It is. Yeah, like it's like an hour and a half flight from London to where I
Right.
live. Yeah.
It's great. So speaking of new songs, California Smile,
Oh
beautiful
yeah.
song, beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you.
Um, is this a hint at maybe a solo CD? I know you said you're retired, but I mean,
No, you know what? I've got several songs in the can. When I released California Smile, um, I was kind of coming back out of retirement. I kind of thought, okay, I'm going to do this on my terms. I'm not going to be concerned about social media. I'm not going to be concerned about how many streams I get or how many likes I get or how many followers I get. I'm just going to put it out and let it be. And so I released that song, and I have several other songs, 5 or 6 songs fully recorded, fully mixed, ready to go. And the plan was I was going to just release a song every few months But then to be honest with you, I started paying attention to the stream numbers and I started paying attention to all I started doing all
Yeah,
that stuff that I swore I wasn't going to do,
right.
and I got depressed. And I started feeling I just started feeling like, why am I doing this? I started paying attention to the wrong things again.
Yeah.
And and I just put the brakes on it. But to answer your question, now that I'm at mentally, I'm at a healthier place as far as all of that goes.
Mm.
And I've just recently reactivated my YouTube channel. I'm doing a weekly, not a podcast, but every Sunday I release what I'm kind of calling a thought essay, which is just a little blurb of my experiences in the music industry.
Right.
And now that I'm doing that and I'm enjoying it again, I'm starting to think, well, I've got these great songs that are ready to go. So I may start releasing some more music. As long as I can keep that healthier perspective about it and not really be concerned about how many views I get or how many people listen to it,
Yeah.
because that's a very dangerous thing for somebody like me. I take things too personally.
Are you producing bands out there, or
Um, I'm I'm doing a tiny bit of work just for joy. I'm not taking a paycheck for anything. I'm doing some mixing for some bands just for the joy of it, and I'm helping a buddy produce a record. But it's but like when I say I'm retired, I really am. I do it as a hobby now.
yeah,
The one thing that I am doing that I just love is I've found a performing arts center here, a performing arts school. And I'm doing some volunteering there. I'm doing some teaching about the music industry and about songwriting and stuff like that. And I'm loving that so much. I mean, I started out my musical journey as the musical director for a children's theater company, and I always loved that. I always loved just the engagement and being inspired by these incredibly talented young people. And so I'm getting a lot of enjoyment out of doing that now. And I mean, as you can tell, I love talking about music and I love talking about my experiences in music. So for me to be able to share that with these students is very rewarding.
that's awesome. That is
Yeah.
incredible. And with your experience and the bands you've worked with, uh, you know, how can I coax you into collaborating and writing a song with my band Rawway? Like, you've been such an inspiration to the stuff that we've written lately. We've recently released two EPs, and I'd like to say that they're very like James Michael, like 6 a.m. inspired. They're not
I
written like,
love that.
but
Will you send that to me? I'd
yeah,
love to hear it,
I'll,
especially if you say that it's inspired,
the last two
that's
EPs, everyone's been like saying what your songwriting has gotten so much better, and it was from that lunch that we had with you. My
that's
guitar
so
player,
cool.
it's if you get a chance, it's rawayband.com. That's
Wait,
where
let me write this down a second. Raw, how do you spell it?
RAHWAY
RAHWAY
and then band.com.
band.com. All right.
Yeah. The my guitar player goes, he's like, I told him I was gonna talk to you, and he goes, see if you would like collaborate with us and write a song with us. He's like, I'd be so honored to have him do that. And I'm like, I don't know, I'll ask him, I'll throw it out there.
That's really cool. Honestly, songwriting is really it's the one thing that I just really don't do anymore. I dabble in producing just for fun. Um, I mix a lot, but I mix just for myself. Because I love mixing so much, and I have these huge archives of records that I've made, and I'll just pull up the masters from like an old Motley Crue record, and I'll
Right.
just remix it. No one's ever going to hear it. I'll just remix it for myself
That is cool.
because I'm always trying to get better
Yeah.
as a mixing engineer.
Yeah.
So I'll do that, but I just songwriting, I just haven't been I haven't been brought back into that world, you
Mhm.
know. It's just for me songwriting was it was always the most exhausting for me, you know. Um and especially as my career went on and on and on, I reached a point where I just thought, you know, I've written so many songs. Does the world need another James Michael song? And
Yes. Yes.
well,
We do.
I appreciate that. But for my own personal, you know, for my own personal feelings, it's hard for me to it's hard for me to, you know, to I'm not motivated to do that anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah.
I
I
just
get you.
I I love being a music fan again
Right.
because for most of my career I was not a music fan. I would drive in my car and I'd be listening to the radio and I'd be listening to what was probably a great song and I'd be focused on the hi-hat sound or how they got that kick drum
Sure.
sound or what
Yeah.
compressor they must have been using on the
Right.
vocal. I wasn't listening to it for the beauty of the song itself. And now that I'm retired, I'm a music fan again.
Right.
Like I literally I'll sit down with Spotify and just go down rabbit holes and I just love it. It's just so inspiring to me and so exciting. I'm kind of back on that side
That's cool.
of the
That is.
business.
Hey, maybe you can, remix one of our songs. We'll call it the James Michael mix.
Now that is something I would certainly consider.
Um, Back to the music stuff. The Heroin Diaries was supposed to hit Broadway. And I spoke to Nicky about it before the pandemic, and he said it looked like it was about to happen. They were casting and everything. Is this something that still could happen for you guys?
You know, that's a great question. And to be honest with you, I've spoken with Nikki recently, but we haven't spoken about that. But I do remember it was it was well down the road. It was
Yeah.
deep into production, and I believe they were even into casting, and you know they were doing rewrites, and Nikki and I had written some additional songs for it, and then I believe that the pandemic just really derailed it. And it may have just been one of those things that you know it even though it seemed to have some momentum, maybe the pandemic just slowed that momentum down and somebody just decided, you know what, let's pull the plug. I don't know. I mean, it was such a neat concept. And
Yeah.
of course, the origins of it, the album and the book are so strong that maybe it will revive itself at some
Hope
point. You
so.
know, I mean, the one thing about Nicky is he's always working on something. You
Yeah.
know, so he will, if there is a lane for that, I'm certain that he would revive that.